Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about what it means to be rich and how to get rich. A definition that I've been told, my dad's always told me, is being able to live off of your interest or dividends and never touching your principal balance of your net worth, of your portfolio. A portfolio is a group of assets that you own that make you money. They either produce a dividend or they appreciate in value, where you can pull off the appreciation and pay yourself with that. And essentially what it allows you to do is have financial freedom. This way you don't necessarily need to go to work and exchange your labor for a wage every day, and you can actually do what you enjoy doing. Life is short. Hopefully we all get to spend some years of our life not having to be in the rat race, or if we're in the rat race, it's only because we want to be and we really enjoy what we're doing. So that's my definition of being rich, but how do you actually get rich? Well, you have to make sure you have good income, and the best way to get good income, you have to provide value in the marketplace. You have to have some sort of skill. So make sure you are developing skills and always working on your skills too. Don't become complacent. Don't become complacent. Don't become complacent. And make sure you're getting paid a very fair wage within your market. I've had a lot of friends have a lot of success getting better jobs by leveraging their employer. I'm not necessarily saying that's what I've done, but make sure you're being appreciated and your loyalty is not being taken for granted. But you also want to make sure you have job security, something really important. Make sure that your income is less than you produce, and you'll have great job security. Now we're going for a morning walk here, a little coffee. So once you've been able to, got some shadows coming in here, produce good income, you want to make sure that you're saving money. So the man who makes $1 million a year and spends $1 million a year is no better off than the man that makes $40,000 a year and spends $40,000 a year. And in America, I think it's a very difficult thing to do because we have these billion-dollar companies, or so many companies that spend so much money on trying to affect your consumer spending, or trying to convince you to buy products. It's like a psychosis. We grow up with commercials all the time. Even something like YouTube really relies on ad revenue to make sure you're spending money. So a good channel that I've been watching lately is I've been struggling, not really struggling, I just feel like I should be saving more money. Always saving more money. And at the end of the day, when I work hard, if I'm not able to save money, I feel like I just kind of am turning my wheels, getting nowhere. Because I ultimately want to save money and buy more assets, so eventually I can have more financial freedom, or financial freedom in general. How do you know when your portfolio is at a size where you're able to live off of it? So what people do in retirement, a lot of people talk about the 4% rule. And what the 4% rule is, that where if I withdraw 4% of my portfolio value of a year, most times, it seems throughout history, your portfolio won't collapse and you can use it for about 25 to 30 years or so. So think of that as $1 million. If I have $1 million in my portfolio and I pull out $40,000 a year, that's 4%. How far does $40,000 a year get you? In some places in this country, you can live very well. You know, in South Florida where we live, it's kind of harder because, for example, these houses here are all, about $300,000. Where my wife's from in upstate New York, a $300,000 house gets you a mansion. So it's all really relative. So you really have to think, what does my portfolio need to get to if my withdrawal rate is 4% or less? A lot of people debate the 4% rule. They think 3% is more sustainable, or really how many years of retirement or financial free living you want. So consider that. So when you're trying to build a portfolio, what am I worth at a withdrawal rate of 4% or less? How many years does that give me? What do you make a year? And what is 4% withdrawal rate gonna get you? It's a good kind of measurement to go off. A lot of people debate it, but I think it's a pretty good rule of thumb. It came out in the 1990s as a study, and a lot of people have used it and have had successful retirements. So that's something else to think about. Don't get caught up in fancy things, cars, jewelry, clothing, stuff like that. A great book to read, I'm sure a lot of people in here have already read it, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Essentially, it tells a story on how Robert Kiyosaki, the author, had two dads. One was a rich dad who didn't really have a formal education, and he was an entrepreneur in a ways, but it was his purchasing behavior that made him a rich man. He always bought assets, versus his real father, his poor dad, was a school teacher, but he actually became like the head of education for the state of Hawaii, but didn't really understand how to invest, and eventually died a poor man. The book really highlights how rich people spend their money and how poor people spend their money. And I'm not saying that money makes you a good person or not, and I actually think it exposes who people really are. Some people get money and turn out to not really be good people. So again, I don't think money makes you a bad person. I think it exposes who people really are. And getting back to spending less money, there's a great page on YouTube to watch here called Beat the Bush. I'll actually put his channel below. The guy is kind of like a minimalist. It's crazy how how little money he can spend every month. A bit extreme for me, but I feel like it's healthy to watch and understand that there's cheaper ways of doing things, and in this way we can take that extra money and invest it. I'm only 30 years old and I have a wife and a child, and I don't want to have to work forever. And I want to be able to do better things for my kid, or possibly kids or grandkids in the future. I don't feel necessarily I'm wasting it all on me. So let's say now you have some money and you want to start buying assets. Where to start? You really have to be educated, and part of this channel is going to be about documenting my journey and talking about several investments that I'm interested in at different times. I believe in a diversified portfolio, holding assets in a bunch of different classes, and this way they kind of offset. Not every asset goes up at the same time, so to kind of sustain that portfolio value, it's good to buy different things. And right now I'm actually trying to buy more real estate. This neighborhood I'm walking around in is actually my parents' neighborhood. I'm a 30-year-old man with a wife and a child living at my parents' house because I rented out my other home about 20 minutes from here while I'm building my new home, which should be ready in about July. And because I want to have more real estate. Real estate's a really cool asset because you can leverage a very expensive asset, a very expensive house. You don't have to put down all this cash to buy a home. For example, the house I'm buying right now has already gone up about 10% in value. Let's pretend I only end up putting 10% down and the house is $400,000 for round numbers. I put down $40,000. And the house is already worth $440,000 because it went up by 10%. I doubled my money. How else can you make $40,000 that fast? It's because the percentage growth on leveraging an expensive asset allows it to go up so fast in sheer numbers. And percentage-wise, it's not that big of a gain. The stock market can do this as well. But if I put $40,000 on a stock and that stock goes up by 10%, I made $4,000. In real estate, I made $40,000. Not saying don't buy stocks, and not saying always buy real estate, but something to consider as inflation keeps on going on and supply and demand of housing. You can really make a lot of money by getting a mortgage, which we'll talk more about cash on cash returns of real estate and just really any investment. And so right now that's something I'm trying to build more in my portfolio. What are some investments that you guys are working on? Where have you seen good growth? I'm actually going to share more in my next video about how I was able to make that $40,000 in 2 months. I'll share some information on my last property on how I was able to make quick money, and what exactly my cash on cash return on that home is, and how to rent a property. So I really hope you guys join me along on this journey. So you can join me along on that journey by hitting that red subscribe channel button, that notification bell. Make sure to hit that like button, and also leave a comment down below. Anything, give feedback. I finally, after at least a year of thinking about it, have started my own YouTube channel. My wife has started a very successful channel of her own, and kind of ran out of reasons not to do it. I wanted to join the conversation. I'm a big fan of YouTube. I think it's a great product. Kind of diversifies information, gives everyone a voice, and I just want to be a part of the community. And starting today, it's actually my first video, so. And I think I'm gonna keep the vlog style going. I like going for a walk and just kind of talking about what I'm thinking, the way I see the world, and hopefully people can point out where they think I'm right, where they think I'm wrong. Is right now a bad time to buy real estate, or do you still see some opportunities out there? What asset class is undervalued right now? Where are the deals at right now? You look at the stock market's at an all-time high. Bonds are producing very little yield. Commodities are still slumping. You know, they had a big run about 10 years ago. Cryptocurrencies, a lot of people got slaughtered last year. Market cap went from about 830 billion all the way down to nearly 100 billion. So that entire market collapsed. Does that asset have a future? We'll talk more about that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for today. So please make sure to subscribe. I'm at least gonna post one video a week, and as it grows, probably hopefully 2 or 3. We'll see how it goes. Thanks.